How's it going? Nice to see you again on a rather glorious morning. Welcome back for another beach talk. I have 14 Peaks. If you've seen it, you'll know what an incredible movie, documentary it is. If you haven't, 30 recommend you do. It's about a chap called Nims Purja, who's a Nepalese climber, and he got together a group of Sherpas to climb the 14 highest peaks on the planet in 7 months. Now, this feat took the legendary Reinhold Messner 17 years to complete, way back in the 70s and 80s. And more recently, a chap from South Korea did this in 7 years. Not just the feat of climbing these mountains, but also the logistics and finance to be able to do so. Now, you might be familiar with some of the work that Sherpas do on mountains, most commonly on Everest, where they do a huge amount to set up the mountain, ropes, ladders, everything for others to climb. They do a huge amount of work to actually safeguard climbers on the mountains, carrying gear, but also in times of storms and rescues, putting their own lives on the line to save others. Now, from someone who's grown up and still live at sea level, I've seen it firsthand, the physiological difference between me, or someone like me, and a Sherpa who hasn't just lived or been born and lived at altitude, but physiologically is made to perform at altitude. So when I climbed back in Kagura, as well as our 2 American guides, we had a Sherpa, Ang Dorje. He was from Nepal. He climbed Everest at that stage 8 times by the time he was 28. He also had achieved was held in such high regard by other climbers because he had put his life on the risk to save others in a storm, made famous by the book Into Thin Air. And on Aconcagua, just to give you a couple of examples, when we were climbing, say, from base camp to Camp 1, which was up to 5,000 meters, when it would take us, walking at a controlled pace, 5 hours, he could do it in 90 minutes. One of the guys said he could run at 5,000 meters if he wanted to. And even when we were going up to our Camp 4, which was quite high, at 6,200 meters, Ang Dorje set off with his own backpack and 4 tents and went and put the tents up in a reasonably strong wind up on a col single-handedly. So when we arrived at the Camp 4, we just had to put our bags down, recover, drink some water, because 10, 12 hours later we were going to the summit. And just that recovery and assistance of having someone to help you out, tying a shoelace at 6,200 meters can give you a headache. So, phenomenal asset. Now, when it comes to the world of business, it's such a nice parallel because, sure, not every business is going to grow into, a unicorn, for example. But if you are thinking about growth, it's so important to think about what are you going to do when you get up there? Because you can't do all this stuff yourself. And there's a huge amount or a huge similarity to the mountains. When you get to that high growth, scale up, and you've got it all on your plate, it's worth kind of thinking about, have you got a Sherpa equivalent, not just on the finance space, but across your board, across your leadership, people who've been there, people they've been up at that height, they know what to do, they know what's expected, and they can perform at that level as well. Lovely parallel. I mean, on a slightly spiritual level, there's a famous story about Ang Dorje putting tents up at this same position on this camp on Aconcagua, where momentarily he took his hand off a tent and the tent was taken off by the wind. Further down the trail, maybe an hour and a half, picture the scene. You've got guides and climbers seeing this yellow kite effectively fly straight up in the air, thinking, oh my God, we've lost the tent. And in a split second, the wind reversed and dropped the tent almost straight down to the same spot it took off from, where Ang Dorje grabbed it, staked it, and all was okay. So very spiritual, maybe just like one with the mountain. Fascinating story to the point that most people don't believe that ever happened. So just wanted to share that with you as well. Anyhow, from a rather glorious morning, I hope you have a great day. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers for now.